Hello everyone, so in this video, me and my friends gonna discuss about the conformity and deviance, and we'll gonna explain about the 3 point of view of deviance, and we'll analyze the empirical case with the structural functionalist perspective of deviance. Let's get started. So first, we have structural functional theories of deviance. The key insight of structural functional is that deviance is a necessary part of social organizations. Durkheim said that there's nothing abnormal about deviance, and these are several Durkheim performing about 4 essential deviance functions. First, deviance affirms culture, values, and norms. So as moral creatures, people must be preserve some attitudes and behavior to others. But any definitions of virtue rest on opposing idea of vice. There can be no good without evil and no justice without crime. Deviance is needed to define and support morality. And secondly, responding to deviance clarifies moral boundaries. By defining some individuals as deviant, people draw a boundary between right and wrong. And thirdly, responding to deviance brings people together, because people typically react to serious deviance with shared outrage. In doing so, Durkheim explained they reaffirm the moral ties that bind them. For example, in August 2014, police used a chokehold while arresting a New York City man for a minor crime, causing his death. In the days that follow, people across the country joined together in demonstrations against police using deadly force against African Americans. And the last is deviance encourage social change. Deviant people push to society moral boundaries, suggesting alternatives to the status quo and encouraging change. Because today's deviance, declared Durkheim, can become tomorrow's morality.
The next one is Merton's strain theory. Some deviance may be necessary for a society to function, but Robert Mertens argued that society can be set up in a way that encourages too much deviance. Mertens believed that there are 5 situations facing an actor. The first one is conformity. It occurs when an individual has the means and desire to achieve the cultural goals socialized into them. The next one is innovation. It occurs when an individual strives to attain the accepted cultural goals but chooses to do so in novel or unaccepted method. The third one is ritualism. It occurs when an individual continues to do things as prescribed by society but forfeits the achievement of the goals. The next one is retreatism, is the rejection of both the means and the goals of society. And the last one is rebellion. It is a combination of the rejection of societal goals and means and substitution of other goals and means.
And the third theory is deviant subcultures. Richard Cloward and Laurel Ohlin extended Merton's theory, proposing that crimes result not simply from limited legitimate or legal opportunity, but also from readily accessible illegitimate or illegal opportunity. And Cloward and Ohlin suggest that there are 3 types of deviant subcultures. First is criminal subcultures, secondly is conflict subcultures, and the third is retributive subcultures. Okay, for the criminal subculture, I want to take the example from John McKenna's book of sociology. So the life of Al Capone, a notorious gangster, illustrates Cloward and Ohlin's theory. As the son of poor immigrants, Capone faced barriers of poverty and ethnic prejudice, which lowered his odds of achieving success in conventional terms. Yet, as a young man during Prohibition, when alcoholic beverages were banned in the United States, between 1920 and 1933, Capone found in his neighborhood people who could teach him how to sell alcohol illegally, a source of illegitimate opportunity, where the structures of opportunity favors criminal activity. Cloward and Ohlin predict the development of criminal subcultures such as Capone's criminal organizations or today's inner city street gangs. Okay, now for the conflict subcultures such as armed street gangs that engage in violence out of frustrations and a desire for respect. And another possible outcome is the development of retributive subcultures in which deviants drop out and abuse alcohol or other drugs.
This is deviance from the point of view of symbolic interactions theories. The first one is primary deviance. It consists of normative violations that do not produce a deviant self-identity. Basically refers to the initial act of deviance. The deviance goes relatively unnoticed and there is a little social reaction or mild corrective actions. Temporary deviant behavior when someone violates social norms without internalizing the beliefs that they are bad. The second one is secondary deviance. Secondary deviance is a deviant behavior that results from a stigmatized sense of self that aligns with society's concept of a deviant, a result of other people's negative reactions to the original primary deviance. Deviant behavior that is a result of being publicly labeled as a deviant and treated as an outsider, or permanently labeled as a deviant person. This occurs when someone internalizes the label society has given them, so they go on misbehaving because that's what they see as their role in society. So these are the examples of primary deviance and secondary deviance. One of the examples of primary deviance is peer pressure and intoxicants use. It has often happened to teenagers. At first, they are introduced to intoxicants as a part of a group settings, such as party, and then nonviolent youth gangs, shopliftings, truancy, countercultures, racial profiling, and religious symbols and observances. And the examples of secondary deviance is when a person may commit a few faults and their parents will warn them that they must stop, but the person will continue and ignore their parents. And then the other example is when a person may have been caught stealing something from a shop and the police gave them a warning, and then a few weeks later they may go back to the shop and try to steal something again.
Hello everybody, so today I'm going to explain to you the deviance from the perspective of conflict theories. So deviance from the perspective of conflict theories is a complex concept that emphasizes on the role of power and social conflict in shaping how societies define and responds to behavior that counts as deviant. And here are some important aspects or points regarding deviance from the point of view of conflict theories. So the first one is social inequality, the second one is labeling theory, the third one is crime and capitalism, and the fourth one is state control. And if you guys have any question on the 4 points that I just stated, you guys can ask me in the discussion. So the occurrence of labor strikes and industrial conflicts is one instance of a departure from a conflict theory that occurs in Indonesian daily life. Strikes and disputes between employees and bosses are frequently a result of unequal power relations, exploitation, and social injustice in the workplace. Conflict theory can be used to examine this incident. And here's how labor strikes illustrate deviance from the conflict of theory. So the first one is the worker exploitation, the second one is power imbalance, the third one is class struggle, and the fourth one is state responses. And if you guys have any questions about it, I will tell you in the discussion.
So this is a picture about a brawl between high school and vocational school students in Kapahiyang, Bengkulu, and it killed one student. The fire started because of an argument between individual students, and from the post-mortem, the victim suffered 2 stab wounds. So as I mentioned before, in this video, we're gonna analyze the empirical cases with the structural functional theories. So first, according to Durkheim's insight, there are 2 insights of Durkheim's that can apply to this case. First is deviance affirms culture's values and norms. Because seeing someone punished for deviant actions reinforces what society considers acceptable behavior or not. Because by giving punishment to students who brawl, it can explain that brawling is not something that is in line with societal norms. And secondly, responding to deviance clarifies moral boundaries. Because by defining some individual as deviant, people draw a boundary between right and wrong. With the police arresting the perpetrators of the brawls, is a way to discipline them for the wrong actions they have committed.
And according to Merton's strain theory is innovations and retrism. Innovations is when the student did the bad thing by fighting or tawuran with his nemesis to achieve his poor goals. And the ritualism is brawls are contrary to the purpose of way of life in a society that loves peace and tranquility, because in this way of adaptation a person's behavior does not follow the goals and methods desired by society.
Okay, so through my analysis, school brawls or street fights between high school counts as Walter Miller's cultural deviance theory, because school brawls can be seen through the lens of this theory if they're linked to particular subcultures within school or community. For example, if a group of students consistently engage in violent fights as a way of establishing their status or identity within the school environments. And this behavior could be considered as an expression of a subculture with deviant values and norms.